Single dad janitor's incredible act saves dying CEO, but her first surprising words are revealed. Jake's hands trembled slightly as he squeezed the handle of his mop, the rhythmic swish against the polished floors echoing through the cavernous office space. He glanced at the gleaming windows, where the sun was just starting to climb over the city, casting long shadows. In that serene moment, the contrast to his life weighed heavily on him. Waking up before dawn to clean the offices of one of the largest corporations in the Midwestern city wasn't what he envisioned for his teenage daughter, Lily. Every swipe of the mop felt like an uphill battle against the realities of their modest life. As he pushed through the monotony, he fought an internal war. His heart was filled with dreams for Lily, the possibilities of a life where she wouldn't have to worry about the price of groceries or the overwhelming burden of student loans looming in her future. Yet, surrendering to ambition felt like betraying the values he had fought so hard to instill in her. He often wondered if hard work was truly the currency of success anymore. Distant chatter filtered through the office doors as the morning crew began arriving, and Jake momentarily lost himself in thought, imagining his daughter's face lighting up at a college acceptance letter. The routine felt comfortable, yet suffocating. Did cleaning office floors for the rest of his life equate to a shortcut to a better tomorrow for Lily? Could he stomach navigating this corporate world of steel and glass? Suddenly, a commotion interrupted his reverie. He turned sharply, his flow of thoughts shattering like glass as he witnessed Amanda, the coldly ambitious CEO, collapse in a heap at the entrance of the boardroom. Panic surged within him, fear rising to meet surprise. Amidst the sterile scent of cleaning supplies, he could feel the urgency blooming in his chest. Memories of first aid courses he had taken washed over him, a flicker of resolve igniting in his mind. He rushed to her side, heart racing, the weight of uncertainty suffocating. As he knelt beside her, sweat beading on his forehead, he fumbled with his hands, but necessity sharpened his focus. Each compress of his hands upon her chest felt monumental. With every breath he willed into her, he felt the stakes hushed by desperation. It transcended mere duty. This was a moment that could tilt their precarious lives on one side or another. When Amanda's eyes finally flickered open, he caught his breath. I did it. But before he could bask in any sense of accomplishment, she revealed her intentions, layoffs, including his position, the words crashing over him like a winter tide. Jake's gut twisted, anger coursing through him. How could she? The thankfulness he expected dissipated in the wake of fear and betrayal. The very woman he had just saved now wielded a dagger at his livelihood. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emotions swirled within him like a storm. How could he reconcile his act of bravery with the threat of losing everything? She turned his moment of triumph into a negotiation for survival. Amanda urged him to help navigate the crisis, but Jake felt the rope begin to fray. Could he trust someone with such a sharp edge? As the opportunity dangled before him, the thought of abandoning his janitorial role gnawed at his conscience, yet the lure of something greater beckoned in the distance. The whirlwind of corporate intrigue awaited just beyond his grasp, but Lily's future hung like a pendulum, drawing him perilously close to a decision that could change everything for better or for worse. Would he be willing to step into the unknown, or would his principles anchor him back to the familiarity of his simple life? All he knew was that each day, the weight of that choice loomed larger, and the question of his character trembled in the air. Could a humble janitor truly navigate the treacherous waters of ambition and duty without losing sight of what mattered most? The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as if mocking his plight, illuminating a battlefield where Jake felt increasingly out of place. His heart hammered with uncertainty as Amanda's voice cut through the tension. I need you to help me, Jake. Your instincts are remarkable. We need to make hard choices quickly to turn this company around. Her words dangled before him, a twisted gift wrapped in desperation. Was this really an opportunity or a golden cage? His mind raced through the implications. He could reclaim a purpose beyond the mop and bucket. Yet the bitter taste of betrayal lingered. She had just threatened his stability, and now she sought his aid like an ally in a tense negotiation. Waves of conflicting emotions surged, one moment kindling hope, the next suffocating him in doubt. He took a deep breath, trying to summon the steadiness he'd learned from years of being a single father. Lily's voice echoed softly in his mind, pushing him. "Dad, you can do anything," she always said, her innocent faith piercing through his uncertainties like sunlight through a dark cloud. "Why should I help you?" he asked, forcing himself to meet her gaze, his resolve barely masking the tremor in his voice. "You just threatened to lay me off, and I fought to save your life. What do you offer that can make this right?" A flicker of something, perhaps regret or realization, passed over Amanda's face. "I'm offering you a chance to be more than just a janitor. You saved my life, Jake. I know you have ideas about turning the company around, and I need those ideas now." "A chance?" Jake echoed, his mind racing with thoughts of the future he envisioned for Lily. Could he truly influence change within these walls, or was he merely a tool to be cast aside when the tide turned? With a life of hardship already weighing heavily on his shoulders, the allure of success felt tainted. "Look," she pressed, urgency creeping into her tone. "If we fail, I'm the first on the chopping block. But I want to let this company go under. I can't, my reputation is at stake. You know your way around this place. Together, we can navigate these waters. I'm not expecting you to do it for free." What was he really worth, though? The thought gnawed at him. Jake's head spun while he battled with the visions of a brighter future for Lily, and yet here he stood, trapped in a web spun from corporate ambition and personal desperation. The opportunity wasn't just about him, it was about forging a path that would transform both his and his daughter's life. But traversing that path would demand reckoning with his principles. As the noise of office workers faded into a murmur, the enormity of the decision loomed larger. "Fine," he replied finally, feeling a weight lift even as another pressed down in its place. "But I want a say in how we navigate this. I want to get caught in the crossfire again." Amanda's eyes narrowed slightly, and a flicker of appreciation passed through them. "Deal. We start this afternoon." With her words hanging like a challenge in the air, Jake felt a restless energy surge within him. The walls of the office no longer felt suffocating, they were transformed into a canvas for his ambition. As he cleaned the last of the surfaces, his thoughts turned to strategies, ideas bubbling up from a place he had long buried beneath the weight of routine. Forgotten dreams of innovation and leadership stirred once more, and he began to see himself not just as a janitor, but as a change agent. The challenge ahead would test everything he believed. Could he blend his newfound aspirations with the grounded values he held for Lily? After all, the world could be as unforgiving as it was rewarding. With each movement, determination filled him, and he began to map out possible solutions in his head. The quiet janitor could rise not by forsaking his past but by embracing the potential within him. But the question remained, could trust ever truly blossom from this ruthless pact with the very person who threatened to uproot his life? Amidst the clatter of office chatter, Jake realized he was on the brink of something monumental. Though he wasn't yet sure of the path ahead, he could feel a spark igniting within him each day, a stepping stone toward reclaiming his destiny. The stakes were high, but this was only the beginning. The time was nearing when he would have to confront not just Amanda but himself, the shadows of his past ambitions, and the reality of who he could become. Would he rise to the challenge, or would the very system he sought to navigate swallow him whole? Jake's heart raced as the clock ticked down to the afternoon meeting, a blend of excitement and dread swirling within him. He was acutely aware that he'd just made a bold step away from the life he had known, and every moment seemed to stretch as he lingered in the threshold of possibility. Amanda might have coerced him into this role, but he recognized the opportunity buried within the veneer of manipulation. As he entered the makeshift conference room, he was overwhelmed by the acrid scent of old coffee and energy drinks mingling with the sharpness of fear that hung in the air. The team gathered. There was a patchwork of anxious faces, individuals who had weathered layoffs and rumors of the company's impending doom. Jake, in a strange twist of fate, stood before them now not as a mere janitor, but as their reluctant leader. His resolve steeled, he took a seat at the front, the weight of expectation pressing down. "Jake, thank you for joining us," Amanda began, her eyes darting between him and the team, gauging reactions. "We're in desperate times. I know many of you might feel apprehensive given the recent changes. The truth is, we need fresh ideas, and Jake has some insights that could help steer us out of this mess." Her words hit like a thunderclap, igniting disbelief and skepticism among the team. Jake could feel their stares boring into him, some curious, some filled with disdain. But he pushed aside the burgeoning panic. He wasn't just a janitor, and deep down, he knew he had potential to contribute to something meaningful. "I appreciate this chance, and I know the stakes are high," Jake began, his voice steady despite the knot tightening in his stomach. "But I'm not here to sugarcoat things. We need to rethink our approach. If we continue down the same path, we will fail. So today, let us think differently." Lily's words flashed through his mind, a reminder of the belief she had in him. As he laid out his observations, a focus on customer relations, adapting to industry changes, leveraging their digital platforms, he watched the incredulous expressions start to shift. They leaned in, curiosity igniting in their eyes, and he found himself feeding off their energy. Jake proposed actionable strategies, his mind racing as ideas flowed freely. With each point, a flicker of confidence ignited within him, propelling him further from the self-loathing he'd held onto for so long. He caught Amanda's approving nod out of the corner of his eye, the sting of betrayal fading as he recognized the potential for collaboration. "Jake's absolutely right," Amanda chimed in. "We need to work together. Think of this as our chance to reshape the company for the better. What can we do today to reinvent ourselves tomorrow?" By the end of the meeting, a palpable shift had occurred. The tension that once gripped the room gave way to an enthusiastic dialogue, ideas bouncing between them like electrical currents. As Jake stepped back, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him, a moment of clarity revealing that he was where he belonged in that moment. Not just as a misfit in a corporate world but as a catalyst for change. After the meeting, Jake found himself alone in the conference room. The walls felt different, they had transformed from stark barriers to a promising horizon. His reflection mirrored the newfound determination dawning within him. Yet, as the adrenaline began to ebb, doubt crept back. Could he truly hold to his principles while navigating the treacherous waters of corporate politics? The possibility of being used loomed large, and yet, he was not the same man who had walked through those doors just hours ago. He could feel the nascent leader inside him, brave, skilled, and ready to confront the next challenge. But as he left the room, Amanda's phone buzzed urgently. She glanced at the screen, her expression sharpening into one of concern. A hidden dimension was unfolding beneath the surface, and as she turned to Jake, the gravity of the moment felt foreboding. "Jake, we need to talk. There are things about this company you don't know yet, and they could change everything." As the world around him faded, the stakes leapt higher. What revelations awaited him, and could he handle the truth that might shatter his newfound aspirations? Jake stood still, the silence of the conference room settling heavily around him. Amanda's eyes, usually sharp and calculating, now reflected a flicker of something else: concern. Fear. He felt the weight of her words press against his chest, uncertainty creeping into the edges of his newfound confidence. What truths lay hidden beneath the polished veneer of corporate life he had only just begun to navigate? "Let us step outside," she suggested, her voice barely above a whisper, as if the walls could eavesdrop. They moved down the dimly lit hall, the fluorescent lights buzzing ominously overhead. Jake's heart thudded in rhythm with his thoughts, racing through the implications of what Amanda might reveal. "Jake," she began as they stood in the stark hallway, the tension palpable, "I didn't want to burden you with these details just yet. You're new in your role, and I didn't want to undermine your confidence. Her hesitation spoke volumes, and the unease coiling in his stomach tightened. Just tell me the truth, Jake urged, his voice firmer than he felt. I'm ready. The resolve in his words surprised him. Was he truly prepared for whatever tumult this conversation might unleash? Amanda drew in a deep breath, and he watched her steady herself. Our company is in deeper trouble than we anticipated. The layoffs were just a symptom, she confessed. There are financial discrepancies, serious ones. And some people here have vested interests in keeping it quiet. Shock coursed through him. The team had forged their hopes around the idea of renewal, yet shadows lurked just out of sight, threatening to swallow any flicker of progress. Jake's stomach churned, a blend of anger and fear igniting his primal instincts. Could he trust Amanda? Or was she merely looking to shift the blame when the time came? Who? Jake demanded, searching her eyes for signs of deception. I can't say just yet, but it runs deeper than just a few individuals. We might have to act fast, she replied, the gravity of her words anchoring heavily on his shoulders. We need transparency and action, which is where you come in. Him. The thought seemed impossible, yet a flicker of defiance sparked within him. He wouldn't shy away, not now. What do you need me to do? He asked, staring into the abyss of the unknown. Help me gather information. Talk to the others, dig deeper into their concerns. You have an innate understanding of people, and we need to leverage that, she said, her urgency palpable. It felt almost absurd, this ex-janitor stepping into the labyrinth of corporate machinations, but wasn't this what he signed up for? Okay, but I need assurances. If I'm putting myself on the line, I want to know that this is worth it, Jake said, unsure if he meant the company's future or his own. Jake, I swear to you, I will protect you. This is bigger than both of us, she insisted, her sincerity shining through the chaos. As they wrapped up their discussion, Jake wrestled with the implications. He felt drawn to this unfolding battle, resonating within him a primal sense of purpose he hadn't known was buried so deep. It was going to be risky, and the stakes were significant, but wasn't this the kind of fight he'd always dreamed of, standing against the tide of despair, carving out his place in a world that had long disregarded him? Back at the conference room, as the sun began to dip behind the buildings, he took in the faces of his team. They were still vibrant with ideas but blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. He would need to navigate this carefully, to ensure they didn't lose heart amidst the upheaval. Jake, are you okay? Lily's voice drew him back to the present, her concern evident. Yeah, just thinking, he replied, masking the turmoil swarming within. The realization struck him like a jolt, he wasn't merely a participant in this unfolding drama, he was integral to it. But as he prepared to engage with his team once more, a nagging doubt lingered. What if he wasn't strong enough to hold back the tide they'd need to confront? A chill coursed through him as he recalled Amanda's warning. The clock was ticking. What would he find if he dug into the heart of the company's secrets? And could he face the consequences of what he might discover? The path ahead was laden with peril, but Jake knew he had to step forward. The next meeting loomed, but it wasn't just discussions of strategies, it was about survival on multiple fronts. Tomorrow, he declared to himself, the weight of his newfound responsibilities weighing heavily yet motivating him. Tomorrow, everything changes. Little did he realize, the real challenge was not only in what he might uncover but who he would have to confront. As the sun rose the next morning, Jake found himself at the office before anyone else. The shadows cast by the buildings felt heavier, his mind buzzed with conflicting thoughts. Today wasn't just another day at work. It was the beginning of something monumental, a challenge that would either define him or destroy him. He went through the familiar steps of making coffee, the comforting ritual grounding him amid a tide of doubts. The rich aroma wafted through the air as he mentally traced the paths that lay ahead, speaking to his teammates about their concerns, probing the depths of the corporate structures, and ultimately confronting the very individuals who may have steered the company into chaos. Focus on them, he muttered under his breath. He had to remember that this wasn't about him, it was about the team that had entrusted him with their hopes. When the office doors finally swung wide, the energy shifted palpably. Employees filed in, almost oblivious to the undercurrents of tension that Jake could sense. He maintained his composure, but the flutter of anxiety in his stomach was relentless. His new role was morphing from mere participation to pivotal involvement, and the weight was crushing. Throughout the morning, he busied himself with small talk, trying to glean insights from colleagues while maintaining a facade of normalcy. It became a balancing act between casual conversation and covert investigation, and he wrestled with the challenge. Would they even open up to him? Trust was a delicate currency he couldn't afford to squander. Jake. Lily's voice broke through his reverie as she approached his desk. Hey, can we talk? I feel like things are a bit off. You seem different. Her words struck a chord. Would they sense the turmoil roiling inside? Yeah, I've been thinking about a lot, he admitted, feigning a casual demeanor while internally questioning how much of the truth she needed to know. About the layoffs? She probed, leaning in closer as if sharing a secret. I can't shake the feeling that more is coming. I heard whispers in the hallway. Jake visualized Amanda's expression in that dimly lit hallway, her warning echoing through his thoughts. I think we're all a little on edge, he replied cautiously, gauging her reaction. But we have to assume the best. Keep the morale up, right? A flicker of distrust clouded her eyes. You're not just saying that to keep us calm, are you? Her directness surprised him. But then it hit Jake he had to be transparent if he expected them to rally behind him. Actually, I think we need to talk about it. He derived strength from his uncertainty. We can't hide from the truth any longer if we want to survive. As Jake elaborated on his intentions to learn more, to uncover the layers of the company's distress, he found himself rallying not only her but also a couple of others who mingled nearby. Each voice added weight to his own understanding, a sense of urgency blossomed within him. Let us meet after work. We can share what we each know, he suggested. The thought of gathering allies ignited him. This was the moment he needed, rallying them to face the enemy instead of retreating in fear. Every moment spent outlining the plan made him more resolute, yet a current of insecurity persisted. What if they discovered there were deeper betrayals at play? He knew he needed to prepare himself, to steel his resolve against those who might seek to sabotage them. The workday wore on, Jake found clarity standing among his peers. He felt their loyalty, born from shared struggles. No longer was he merely surviving, he was leading, thrust into a position of newfound responsibility. But as they separated for the day, he couldn't shake the sense of impending confrontation lurking around the corner. As night fell, he gathered his team in a secluded corner of the office, tensions high amid whispered conversations. They were all aware that the storm was near, and as they exchanged observations, an uncomfortable truth emerged: a shadowy figure among them may very well be behind their company's unraveling. Jake's heart raced as he turned to face his team. We need to find out how deep this goes because I fear we're all in more danger than we realize, he declared, his voice steady but filled with menace. Before he could absorb their reactions, an unexpected flash of movement caught his eye: someone lurking in the doorway, observing them. The air crackled with tension as he realized they weren't alone. Who had overheard their clandestine meeting? And what repercussions would follow? The clock was ticking louder than ever, and Jake faced a terrifying truth: they were being watched. What could this dangerous revelation mean for their burgeoning movement and for Jake himself? Jake's mind raced at the sight of the figure in the doorway. He could feel the adrenaline course through his veins. The tension in the room sharpened, transforming the air into a dense barrier between secrecy and exposure. Who was this person? What did they know? In an instant, the atmosphere shifted from camaraderie to fear. Everybody, stay calm, he urged, lowering his voice, though his heart thumped wildly. He stepped forward, determined to confront the lurking presence head-on. The shadowy figure hesitated, then stepped forward into the dim light. It was Amanda. "Jake," she said, her voice low but urgent. "I need to talk to you now." The look on her face was unyielding, yet laced with the gravity of the situation. She glanced at the others and raised her eyebrows, urging them to disperse. There was no time for questions. Jake felt the sting of betrayal twist in his gut. He'd barely begun to trust her after her previous warning whispers. With a quick nod to his team, they trickled away, the gravity of her presence turning their whispered conversations into silent echoes as they reluctantly exited. Once they were alone, Amanda leaned closer, urgency spilling from her. "You don't know how deep this goes. You have to be careful. I couldn't let you continue without warning you first." Jake's defenses instinctively rose. "Are you here to intimidate me, or to help?" "Because we're trying to uncover the truth." Her lips tightened into a thin line, and he could see the conflict etched across her features. "I'm here to help, but you need to understand that some truths could be dangerous. This company, it's not just mismanaged, there's a cancer feeding on it from the inside." "What do you mean?" The weight of her words pressed down on him, igniting a mix of fear and determination. "Who is behind it?" "I can't tell you everything, but there are individuals in key positions. They're watching your every move, Jake. If they suspect even for a second that you're trying to dig deeper, they will eliminate you." Jake swallowed hard. The implications of her warning enveloped him like a cold fog. He had come this far, ready to transition from uncertainty to active leadership, and now it felt precarious. This wasn't just about him, this was about every single person in that office, possibly every family tied to those jobs. "Okay," he started slowly, weighing his options. "Then let us need to figure out how we can confront this without putting ourselves at risk." A plan was forming in his mind, but it was still half-formed, shrouded in anxiety. Amanda steadied her gaze on him. "You'll need allies, people you can trust completely. Have you thought about who you can bring into this without alerting the others?" Jake nodded, realizing what she was implying. He needed to be strategic. Not just for them, but for the integrity of the entire organization. "Right. But I need more information. What do you know about personnel changes, financials, anything that might give us a lead? We need to meet in a secure location somewhere no one will be watching or listening." "I'll help you gather intel quietly, but you have to be patient," she advised, glancing over her shoulder. The urgency in her voice conveyed a sense of impending danger. "Let us do that," he decided firmly. He was tired of standing on the precipice of fear, it was time to act. The weight of responsibility had become a mantle he was willing to bear. "And Amanda, if we're doing this, we need full transparency." Jake felt a flicker of determination ignite within him. They were treading in dangerous waters, but deep beneath his fears lay a strength he hadn't embraced before. He could do this. As he left the office that night, thoughts raced through his mind. What information would Amanda uncover? Who could he truly trust? The unease twisted in his gut like an uninvited guest, but there was no turning back now. The time had come to confront the looming threat. The challenge would not only define his professional future but carve out his personal identity in ways he could scarcely imagine. The real question was whether he could navigate the shadows threatening to engulf them without being swallowed whole. As he stepped into the darkened parking lot, a very different revelation awaited him, a message waiting on his car windshield, cryptic and chilling. Only the first of many secrets yet to unfold in this fraught game of survival. Jake stood frozen for a moment, the chill of the night wrapping around him like a fog. The message on his windshield beckoned him closer, a taunt embedded in a single line that could shatter everything he hoped to protect. "You don't know who you're dealing with." He wiped his palms on his jeans, a wave of frustration swelling within him. This was exactly the kind of tactic designed to unnerve him, to plant doubt. But what choice did he really have? He couldn't turn back now. Not when he summoned the courage to challenge what lay in the shadows. He peeled the note off the windshield, crumpling it into a ball as he slid into the driver's seat. He'd need more than willpower and instinct to navigate this baneful game. The adrenaline coursed through him, igniting a flicker of resolve as he considered Amanda's words. Allies. He needed to figure out who among his colleagues could be trusted without risking exposure. Driving home, every thought spiraled around the uncertain alliances he would need to forge. He parked in front of his apartment and let out a breath he hadn't known he was holding. Here, in the familiarity of his home, the turbulence of his responsibilities simmered down. He took a moment to decompress, visualizing who could join him on this precarious journey. Mark had always been a capable engineer, one who operated below the corporate radar and possessed a mind for detail. Perhaps he could lend valuable insights. Then there was Lisa, the HR specialist with her acute ability to read people, an asset he couldn't overlook if only he could trust her loyalty. As thoughts cascaded with urgency, he grabbed a notepad and started jotting down the names of potential allies. But each name came with its weight, invoking another layer of doubt. Who else had ties to the corruption? Would these choices jeopardize his mission? The reality of undermining the very structure he worked within began to weigh heavily on his conscience. Jake stood up from his table, frustrated at the hypothetical scenarios spiraling around him. How did someone navigate a labyrinth designed to ensnare them? He couldn't afford to be reckless. With an inner resolve beginning to harden, he shifted to a different mental gear. What if he took this opportunity to confront the main issue head-on? Gathering evidence could lead him to the core of the problem. Where to find such data? Restricted files were kept under lock and key, accessible only to a select few. He shook his head, laughter bubbling up darkly. Trust was about to become his most precious commodity, but taking risks was the only path ahead. If Amanda was right, his every move was being watched, but he couldn't allow himself to be chained by fear. After fully processing the weight of this conflict, he resolved to meet with Amanda again. They needed to strategize and share intelligence. Before he could reverse his decision, he scanned through his contacts and found her number. He dialed, his heart a torrent of anxiety as he waited for her voice to answer. "Jake," she greeted, a hint of weariness laced in her tone. "It's time to put our plan into action," he replied, the resolve in his voice surprising even himself. "We need to dig deeper, and I have some names." "Names?" she questioned, the urgency rekindling in her voice. "Yes, but we'll need to be careful," he warned. "We can't afford any mistakes." After a brief pause, he felt the weight of her agreement settle. "All right. Meet me at the diner tomorrow at 10, unless..." "Unless what?" "Unless you receive more threats." The interaction left Jake simmering in uncertainty, both for Amanda's safety and his own. There was more at stake than mere employment. He felt the abyss extending, challenging who he had become. As he hung up, contemplation struck him like lightning. In the pursuit of unraveling the truth, he could potentially illuminate his own path to leadership, but he had to tread with immense care. He was walking a tightrope, one false step could send him spiraling. At the edge of sleep, he pondered what awaited him. Secrets were buried deep in the corporate walls, and it was up to him to uncover them. Or risk binding himself to the same chain that had entrapped Amanda and perhaps countless others. Could he truly face the people pulling the strings, or would he become another pawn in their game? The uncertainty lingered as sleep hung like a looming shadow over him, and his mind replayed Amanda's warning. With tomorrow dawning, the stakes would elevate. The moment of confrontation was drawing nearer. Little did he know, hidden truths had a way of surfacing when least expected, and where he thought he'd find security, danger often lurked. Jake awakened the next morning enveloped in silence, the kind that felt oppressive, heavy with the weight of impending confrontation. Glancing at the clock, he felt the familiar rush of urgency tighten in his chest. 10 a.m. seemed to approach at lightning speed, yet the minutes dragged like hours. He felt a psychological tug-of-war between dread and determination. The meeting with Amanda was pivotal. They would be parsing through not just information, but also the potential for trust in a hyper-fraught environment. He dressed quickly, donning the gray button-up that hung loosely over his slim frame, clasping a tie before he could talk himself out of it. Presenting himself well would give him confidence, or at least he hoped. Arriving at the diner, the sharp scent of brewed coffee mixed with the faint aroma of baked goods enveloped him as he stepped inside. A quick survey of the separated booths revealed Amanda seated at a far corner, a steaming cup cradled in her hands. There was a tightness in her jaw, a visible manifestation of the stress pressing down on them both. As he slid into the booth opposite her, eye contact sent a jolt of electricity but also fear through him. This was real. "Jake," Amanda said softly, lowering her voice to a murmur. "I'm glad you came." "Me too," he replied, forcing a steadiness into his voice. "Did you receive any other threats?" "No," she admitted, tension easing just slightly with that truth. "But I don't want to underestimate them. This is serious." He leaned in, lowered his voice further. "I've been thinking. If we're going to uncover anything, we have to dive deeper than what they let us see. I need Mark's engineering insights and Lisa's ability to read people. We can't risk moving forward without them." A flicker of worry crossed Amanda's face, as if she was weighing the implications of involving others. What if they turn on us? What if they're part of it? We need to be cautious. Then we must build a level of parity, Jake suggested. If the four of us are aligned, we can act as checks on each other's loyalty. If any one of us feels off, we can step back. Despite the apprehension, Amanda's expression shifted towards contemplation. It was clear she respected the practicality of his argument, even if the weight of trust remained unspoken. "All right, we can approach them cautiously. But we have to watch our backs." Taking a deep breath, Jake nodded. The stakes were high, but a fundamental sense of agency began to bloom within him. He considered how each decision was not just about confronting external danger, but also proving his own mettle. Every word exchanged became a stepping stone towards reclaiming his autonomy. After brainstorming potential strategies for contacting Mark and Lisa, Jake felt a rush of clarity. They were not simply gathering allies, they were crafting a team purposeful and united. Yet the more he planned, the more he sensed that the real challenge would come not from the outside but from within. "Listen, Amanda," he said, his voice gaining strength. "I can't promise I'll have all the answers. I might falter. But I'm committed to this. If we want to break the string pulling us into the abyss, we have to move forward. Together." A small but genuine smile broke through her earlier tension, affirming their alignment, if only for the moment. "Let us do this. Let us pull each thread until we unravel the whole mess." He watched her resolve strengthen, and found himself feeling lighter, brimming with latent vigor. They exited the diner with purpose, a shared understanding cementing their partnership. As they stepped onto the street, a sudden thought struck him, a moment of clarity amidst chaos. If they were going to face the puppeteers in this sinister game, they needed insider access. He had now twisted the odyssey into personal necessity, and the road offered more an opportunity than an obstacle. Yet there was something he had yet to consider. Would Mark and Lisa be willing to gamble everything to join this journey? Was loyalty a currency they could all afford? With these new thoughts racing through his mind, Jake's determination blazed. Each step into the day ahead echoed with newfound purpose, but an inkling of doubt loomed close behind. Tomorrow would demand fine execution of the plans they set in motion, but uncertainty would wrap around his choices like a noose. Would he find allies willing to stand beside him in the face of uncertainty, or would he face this challenge alone? The questions hung heavy as he set his sights on the first rendezvous. Jake lingered outside the coffee shop for a moment, allowing the brisk air to collect his thoughts. He cast a glance at his phone. Mark was scheduled to meet him at noon. It felt surreal to think about reaching out to people he hadn't fully trusted before, and now, here he was, on the precipice of a potentially life-altering discussion. The stakes had risen, and yet, he felt more equipped than ever, not just with facts or tactics, but with a burgeoning resilience that urged him forward. As he made his way to the small office where Mark worked, the weight of what lay ahead struck him anew. Would Mark's engineering expertise truly bridge the gaps they faced? More importantly, could Jake bring the team dynamic to life? He would have to coax their strengths into synergy, a skill he had not yet tested. The realization was unsettling, but alongside it slithered a current of excitement and opportunity for personal growth hidden within the uncertainty. Jake pushed through the glass doors, the scent of metal and freshly printed documents mingling in the cramped space. He spotted Mark hunched over his desk, the digital screens reflecting a deep focus. As he approached, he felt the familiar knot return in his stomach, each step heavy with anticipation. "Hey, Mark," he greeted, attempting to project a confidence he wasn't entirely sure he felt. Mark looked up, his brow arching in curiosity. "Jake. What's up?" Jake took a breath, recalibrating within his own mind. "I need to talk to you about something serious. It's about Amanda and what's been happening at work." Mark's expression shifted, curiosity morphing into concern. "I'm listening." With every sentence, Jake sought to balance the tightrope of conversation, navigating intricate details of the threats while instilling trust. "We believe this runs deeper than we thought. There are risks that can impact not just us but the entire company. I want you to be part of a team we're forming, one that can investigate from the inside." Mark regarded him for a moment, folding his hands. "And what makes you think I wouldn't rather run from this?" Jake paused, weighing his answer carefully. He needed to bridge doubt with authenticity. "Because you're not one to shy away from a challenge. You love problem solving. This is a big problem, one that could use your skills." Mark hesitated, and Jake sensed the calculative conflict brewing within him. "And if it goes sideways? What's at stake here?" The honesty in his question rang like a bell in Jake's ears. It wasn't merely about answers or loyalty, it was about character. Everything. But that's why it matters so much. We all have something to lose. I want to do this together, so we can safeguard each other. A flicker of interest danced across Mark's eyes, though skepticism still lingered. "You barely had the guts to stand up for yourself before, Jake. How do you plan to lead now?" The words cut sharper than he expected, forcing Jake into a reflective pause. It was true, he had often been reactive and fearful. "You're right," he admitted, feeling the weight line his shoulders. "But this is an opportunity for me to grow. I can't change the past, but I can shape what comes next. And I know that with your help, we can lock into something bigger." There was a silence stretching between them, and for the first time, Jake felt the adrenaline of vulnerability. It was more liberating than he anticipated. Mark's defenses began to crack, and intrigue overshadowed his initial hesitance. "All right, I'm in," Mark finally said, a slight grin breaking through his deliberation. "But I want to hear everything. Full transparency. No half-truths." "Absolutely," Jake affirmed, relief washing over him like a tide. "I'll bring Amanda into this for a meetup." As they parted ways, Jake's pulse quickened not from fear, but from exhilaration. This was uncharted territory, a chance to redefine not just their roles but himself. One conversation further down the path reshaped his narrative, steering his professional identity toward competence and purpose. Next, Jake had to reach out to Lisa. Would she see the potential in what they were building, or would her skepticism pull everything apart like a fragile thread? The next hour felt unbearably long as he mulled over the answer, every beat of his heart drumming out a silent plea, "Dare to believe." Jake sank into a chair at his kitchen table, a steaming mug cradled between his palms. The scent of coffee blended with lingering uncertainty as he replayed the conversations of the day in his mind. Mark had embraced the challenge, but now it was Lisa's turn. Would she too stand beside him in this precarious endeavor? Time stretched out, amplifying his doubts while stoking his determination. He knew Lisa well, her analytical skills and keen perception were assets they desperately needed. But would she buy into this vision he was beginning to craft? He could see the glint of distrust in her eyes when they interacted in the office. Reaching out to her would be no small feat. It demanded sincerity that was foreign to him only weeks ago when he shuffled through life, mop in hand, head down. Jake pulled out his phone, heart racing as he dialed her number. Sweat pooled at his palms, but he brushed it off as he felt the familiar thrill of uncertainty rev up once again. "Come on, Lisa, pick up," he whispered under his breath, annoyance creeping into his thoughts. When she answered, he took a deep breath to steady himself. "Hey, Lisa. Can we meet? I need to discuss something important." "Is this about the layoffs?" Her tone was sharp, a hint of steel lacing her concern. "It goes deeper than that. I think it's time for us to confront what's really happening in the company." He could hear the weight of her contemplation on the other end of the line. "All right, where?" "Let South meet at the park near work, say in half an hour." "Fine," she said curtly, and the line went dead. Jake hurriedly finished his coffee and left the house. The cool breeze felt invigorating against his skin, each step toward the park refreshing yet heavy with anticipation. Confronting Lisa meant unearthing deeper truths not just about the company but about himself. At the park, the sprawling green surrounded him like a familiar embrace, but the stakes were significant. As he spotted Lisa perched on a bench, he couldn't shake the shivers crawling down his spine. This was the moment of reckoning. He needed her to see the bigger picture. "Jake," she greeted as he approached, arms crossed. The defensiveness in her posture betrayed her concern. "Thank you for meeting me," he began, searching for the right words. "I know trust might not come easy, but what I'm about to say could impact all of us." With each explanation, Jake laid bare the depths of the crisis. He spoke of Amanda and the information she had revealed, the financial discrepancies, the threats unearthing through the pyramid of power. Lisa remained silent, analyzing him through narrowed eyes as he explained the need for collective action. "I want us to forge a team, one that can truly dive deep into the heart of the issues we face. We can be more than just pawns in their game." He could almost see the gears turning in her mind. "And you trust me to be a part of this, Jake?" she asked, skeptical. "I trust you to hold us accountable," he replied, gaining strength in his voice. "You've always been the person to see things clearly, and I need that clarity. We can do this together if you're willing." A long pause hung in the air, heavy with implications. The tightly wound anxiety in Jake's stomach began to unravel as he felt the shift. A glimmer of recognition sparked in her eyes, and Jake seized the moment. "We can't let fear control us. We must operate with purpose and integrity." Slowly, she nodded, then looked off into the distance, mulling over the prospect. "All right, I'm in. But I need to know your game plan before committing to something like this." Jake's heart soared, his instincts had led him right. "Absolutely. Let us schedule a meeting later to set everything up. Mark is already on board, and together with the three of us, we can tackle this head-on." Lisa met his eyes, her expression softening. "Good. But we need to prepare for backlash if they catch wind of our intentions. I know. We'll tread carefully. But we were meant for this. We'll turn this crisis into our empowerment," he declared, believing the conviction echoing in his own words. Together, they would dismantle the shadows hiding beneath the company's glitzy facade. As he left the park, Jake felt lighter, his feet almost floating as he walked. Each meaningful step felt charged with purpose, igniting a spark of determination within him. Days later, with the team assembled, they shared ideas, created strategies, and unearthed connections between disjointed pieces of intelligence that illuminated the inner workings of the company. The ability to lead from vulnerability transformed into a source of strength that Jake hadn't known was within him. The clock ticked as he absorbed their perspectives, and with each idea exchanged, his confidence solidified. He was no longer just the janitor, he was a linchpin in a momentum for change. Their collective work galvanized an unstoppable determination that rippled through them like electricity. The evolving trust among them ushered in breakthroughs, finding crevices within corporate structures that revealed the deeply rooted issues. Every thought, Every action propelled his team closer to unearthing the reality hidden behind the boardroom's polished walls. Jake beamed with the kind of pride that stemmed from hard-won triumphs, each small victory morphing into a foundational stone. The potential that lay ahead felt palpable, and for the first time in years, he didn't shy from envisioning success for himself and his daughter. When Amanda approached him, her initial hesitation melted into something resembling admiration. "I've seen changes happening, Jake, not just in the company but in you. You've managed to become a pivotal part of the solution." "Thank you, Amanda," he replied, firm in his demeanor. "But this isn't about individual recognition anymore, it's about all of us. We have a chance to reshape our future." As confrontation neared with the forces claiming dominance, Jake felt ready to transform every detractor into an ally. His journey revealed a resilient leader fueled by a desire for change, not for the sake of ambition, but for the promise of a better life for Lily and for each person in that office. Their united front began to cultivate the kind of workplace interaction that inspired camaraderie and cooperation. Jake had conquered much more than corporate turmoil. He had transformed himself into someone steadfast, someone who would never again cower in the face of adversity. With every action taken, he demonstrated that true leadership lay in compassion, purpose, and the adherence to principles forged in love for his daughter. Success was no longer a distant dream, it was a reality being carved from the trials of relentless pursuit. And as he looked forward to the days ahead, he knew they would not simply survive, they would thrive in the wake of their collective strength. Jake stood solid, no longer hesitant, no longer just a janitor, but a vital architect of hope and leadership, enhancing not just their futures but illuminating the path toward an engaging and inspiring culture in the workplace. This was triumph redefined, one he would cherish, a story of personal evolution, the rise from uncertainty into an established seat at the table. Now, as the credits began to roll on this chapter of his life, Jake realized the earnest truth: his journey had just begun. But like all powerful transformations, their story was just waiting to be shared with the world, a true testament to personal growth, resilience, and triumph over adversity. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions.